Good afternoon, cheeseheads, wherever you are in the world. So this is a cheese room first. You're in my dining room with me today, and my beautiful daughter is asleep. So I thought, what better thing to do with my time than talk about Tottenham Hotspur's new left back, Reguilon, with the Harlow Globetrotter, who is joining us live from Vienna. How are you, HG?
Not too well. I'm actually home off sick, stuck in bed. No work for me today, so that this is my bed. I'm actually in my bed, but I'm always willing to talk Spurs, and yeah, and obviously it's a pretty big day that's coming ahead. I think the announcements are going to be tomorrow, but with Reguilon and Gareth Bale coming back, it's a pretty exciting time to be a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
And I know we've got some questions from some of our fellow cheeseheads out there in the world, so
Yeah.
we can get to those.
Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, you should be able to type a comment in the comment box. We can see all of those and react to them as we're going through the session. And we could also we've also taken some pre-show questions from the GGTH group on Facebook and our own cheese room page. So HG, do you want to start firing through some questions? Let's go. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so the first one comes from I think he's in Australia, from Frodo Nilsson. He wants to know what kind of player Reguilon is, and that if they do sign both of them, when was the last window that we improved in so many positions?
Oh, well, that's an excellent question. The year that we sold Bale, we tried to improve in many positions, but I'm not sure we improved in any. Especially as you will tell me, we signed Lamella that year. It was fated to be a failure. I can't remember a window where we've potentially improved in so many positions, but it is potential, and unless it translates into the pitch, you don't really know, do you?
That's true. I mean, I do think about the 1 year where we signed Son and Alderweireld. I think it was also the year we signed Kevin Wimmer, although, I mean, obviously he didn't stay long term, was a decent signing for the club because we made a £14 million profit. But yeah, like for players who actually will play regularly, with Bale and Reguilon and Højbjerg and Doherty, I mean, that's almost half the team. Obviously Joe Hart is there as a backup, but still for players that might play regularly, this is probably just shows how weak our squad has been, that we needed such strengthening.
Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of player is Reguilon and HG? What do you make of him?
Well, I mean, I've seen him play a few times for Sevilla. There's a guy on Twitter that I follow who is a Spurs fan, and he lives in Seville, and he's always talking about the Sevilla team. I think he's even got a season ticket out there, and he talks about Reguilon being an attacking fullback. Sevilla playing a flat back four, which obviously suits us. That's what we like to do. And so yeah, I think I saw a stat that last season he completed more dribbles than Ben Davies has in the Premier League ever. So that gives you a better idea of the fullback we're getting. We're going to get someone who likes to attack, who can take players on inside or out. And there was also a goal he scored against Roma in the Europa League just after the restart, where he got the ball and cut inside. I'm sure we've all seen it on various videos now, but he's a different type of fullback than Davies is, and something that we needed.
Absolutely. And I suppose then there's the small subject of a number 11 who's potentially going to be signing from Real Madrid. He's not a bad player either, is he? HG, what are your memories of Gareth Bale the first time round?
I remember sitting in an Australian pub in the middle of Melbourne at like 4 a.m. or something stupid it was, to watch the Stoke game, where he scored that volley, and like that was one of those moments where I'm like, the party has started.
Yeah.
That was the first sign, I think, where Bale was going to be the incredible player that we saw, the technique and everything. But he did so much for us that I think some of them we've even forgotten. I mean, obviously there's the goal at West Ham that we all remember, but there were so many screamers in that final season. The goal he scored at Norwich. I mean, he did a few at Norwich, but I think the second one, the second season where he was, he was getting hacked from behind, and he still managed to find the far corner. He was an incredible player, and we still have to believe that he can do it again. But the reputation, the type of player that he is, we haven't seen a player like that at Spurs probably
Since he left.
Since he left. Kane is many things. He's a fantastic striker, one of the best number nines in the world. But he didn't get you up off your seats
He's
like
not
Bale
exciting
did.
though, is he? I mean, he'll finish anything in the 18-yard box, and he scores the odd worldie. But he's Bale. My memories of Bale are he can win matches single-handedly. I remember that winner against West Ham in the last minutes. From 30 yards or something ridiculous. Just absolute screamer, and he obviously destroyed Inter Milan. That season where he came alive, he was with a season and a half. I suppose we had the absolute best out of him. I would describe it as, and he was just unplayable. That's the way I put it. He was just unplayable. Now whether we get that player back or whether we get a slightly more mature player who is more rounded and has learnt maybe to hone some of his talent in a different kind of way, I think that's potentially what we will get back. But it's the first signing I've been really excited about at Spurs for ages, because all the other people, let's face it, are people who we either don't know and haven't heard of and have to Google in a Danny Rose style. In fact, someone should ask Danny Rose what he thinks of signing Gareth Bale. Does he need to Google him?
He's one of the few Spurs players that has already played with him. I think Hugo played with him a bit. I actually think I saw a stat where Kane and Bale were on the pitch once before Bale left. They played 9 minutes together in some random Europa League game.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're going to have, like, if he can still score 25, 30 yards almost at will, which is what he was doing when he left.
Yeah.
We've got something incredible.
Oh,
Absolutely
yeah,
incredible.
I can't wait, and I just hope they let me in the ground soon so I can use my season ticket to watch him. We've got some questions coming in on YouTube, and welcome to everyone watching us. FP, which I assume is Frank Parker. Brilliant comment. He's a left back. Thanks for that, I guess, about Reguilon. Analytical as ever, Franco. Alex E asks, and I'll pop his question up on the screen. Does Dele still fit in the squad, HG? Yes,
absolutely. I think that we're going to have so many options now. It's not going to be about that. The famous 4-2-3-1 that we were so good under Poch. We're going to be able to play lots of different styles, lots of different formations. I think maybe we might see 4-4-2 a lot more that we saw towards the end of last season. I think that Kane and Dele could be one of the front two in that situation. So I don't think he's the creative 10 that maybe you would want to see in a 4-2-3-1. But the goals that Dele is able to score, like even last season when he didn't have a great year, he still scored 1 in 3. He knows where the goal is, and those players are priceless. So I would be very disappointed if he wasn't part of the squad. He may not be part of our best 11, but I would hope that our best 11 would change depending on situation. It's not going to be like under Pochettino where we knew what our best team was. This might be more horses for courses, and Dele, I mean, his ability to ghost into the box and get on the end of crosses or whatever is first class. I mean, he's still a fantastic player, and I think there's definitely a place for him.
Question is, what's your favourite chocolate bar, HG? I mean, I'm partial to the odd chocolate bar. Well, I was before I was diagnosed as diabetic. I obviously have to watch what I eat now. But what's your favourite? What's your top 3 chocolate bars, very quickly, in a deli style?
I think usually my favourite chocolate bar belongs to someone else. But I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously, growing up in the UK, you can't go wrong with Cadbury's, whether it's dairy milk or whole nut. I liked Fry's peppermint cream when I was a kid. I do love mint chocolate. It's almost easier to find the chocolate bars that I didn't like. Turkish Delight, I never really liked that. But there's a chocolate bar in Australia called Choquito, which I wish they did something similar here in Europe, because I really liked that when I lived out there. But yeah, chocolate bars and me, it's so difficult to it's almost like trying to pick your favourite Spurs player. It's really difficult to do.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I would have no problem naming about 10 chocolate bars. That's no problem at all. But in terms of where we go with that, I don't know. I would go Mars, twirl, curly whirly. Why not? Why not have a curly whirly for good measure? We'd love that.
Yeah, yeah, well, I mean, that was always, always felt good value for money. Even as a kid, you liked Curly Wurlies were much bigger than all the other chocolate bars,
Mm.
so you fell for the marketing. But
We should
yeah,
give we should
I
give
don't
some of
know.
those away on a pod, a load of curly whirlies. It'd just be a nice and kind thing to do. Another question there from Nathan Ayres. Thanks for watching, Nathan. And Nathan says, "Is there a chance where Madrid don't buy him back and we have him for 3+ years?" I'm assuming you're talking about Reguilon. HG, what do you think? What do you
I
think?
think the only way they're going to buy him back is A, they need him. B, he's played well for Spurs, so they think he's going to be a good option. And see that they don't they want to pay the price. I mean, I don't know what the buyback fee will be, but it's usually more than what they sold him for. So if they're selling him to us for 30 million euros or whatever it is,
Hmm.
if it's 40 million euros for a left back, yes, they can do it. Um, but yeah, like I like the idea that we'll run the risk of that happening, because if he plays well, that's all that really matters for us.
Yeah.
Like it sucks, but if he plays well and we end up losing him for maybe less than market value, we've still done really well out of it because he's played well, and that's the point. That's why you sign players.
Yeah.
So I'm not too upset at the idea, but I have a sneaky suspicion that if Zidane is still in charge, which I think he might be,
Yeah.
that he will be with us long term.
Well, I
If
mean, he had a worldie of a season, did he? What I don't know, but the caller does not know much about Spanish football, or German football, or French football, or Italian football, or South Korean football, or generally he doesn't do world leagues very well. He only has time really for the Premier League and maybe the Championship on occasion. But what I do know about Reguilon is he was in the team of the season, I believe, as a left back.
Yeah, I mean he's a quality player, and it's a position that we do need strengthening. I don't think any of us really wanted to see a season of just Ben Davis as the main person with an 18-year-old backing him up.
Mm.
I do like Dennis Sirkin, but it's a bit early, really. Now, I think now he'll have the opportunity to go out on loan himself. So it's a player that we needed. It's a player that other teams did want, even if they weren't willing to have those clauses put into the contract.
Yeah.
And I think we should just almost be more worried about how well he plays. That's the most important thing. What happens a year or 2 years from now, we can't worry about it. We need to worry about tonight, about
Yeah.
the game in Bulgaria. That's the main thing.
Absolutely, and I know there'll be a lot of people watching a dodgy stream tonight, or Premier Sports, I think it's on, to see how we get on against this Bulgarian side, whose name I can't even say. Was Dynamo something? Ploporov?
Locomotive,
Locomotive
locomotive Plovdiv,
Plovdiv. I mean,
Plovdiv. Hey,
it
hey,
sounds like something you'd call someone in the playground at school, and they're
you're such
sharing
a
a picture with
Plovdiv.
Harry Kane. I mean, look, I reckon I could get a game for him. The caller could absolutely get a game for Dynamo Plovkotkin, and I should. I absolutely should. I should fly out there, and it'd be my chance to play against all my heroes. What do we know
It's,
about
I
him,
mean,
HG? What do we know?
I don't know too much. Like Bulgarian football obviously isn't one of the best leagues in Europe, but there's a few Plovdiv players who play for the national team. They got to the Europa League qualifying stages last year, so they are one of the bigger teams. But like I think we're all a little bit nervous because it's just a one-leg game, right? If it was over two,
Yeah,
I think we'd all be thinking, it doesn't really matter what happens in Bulgaria. We're not going to lose by 2 or 3, and then we can come home and finish the job. But in a one-off game that could go to a penalty shootout, we saw that with Colchester last year in the League Cup. We can't really run the risk of losing this, and in a one-off game we could lose it.
mm.
So it almost matters more not how good they are, but how good we are. Because if we play well, we will beat them. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
And we've left a few players behind. I'm guessing we're not reading anything into leaving Delhi behind, HG.
I don't want to, because it's too easy to come up with speculative stories about what might possibly happen. Um, it worries me a little bit because it's a European game. I don't know if he would get cup
Yeah.
tied if he played tonight, and that would, maybe limit his options if we were trying to move him on. I hope we're not. I hope it's nothing more than he wants to stay home and eat his favourite chocolate bar. I don't know, but I'm trying not to read too much into it. I wish he was there because I think he's part of our best 18.
Yeah.
He may not have started, but he should be there. So it's a bit of a worry, but I'm focused more on Bale than I am on Delhi right now.
I absolutely agree with Deli on one thing, and that is the bounty has no place whatsoever in my pantheon of chocolate bars, I must say. Couple more questions. Alex says, how do we... I like this question, actually, Alex. How do we view Daniel Levy, ENIC, now these deals have gone through? I'm on the record as not really having an opinion on ENIC and Levy, other than they've done a fairly decent job in terms of infrastructure. And moving the team forward in the time they've been in charge, because when they took over we were riddled with debt and about 10th in the league, and now we get European football consistently every year and have got a state-of-the-art stadium, although you could argue the debt against it for or against. HG, what's your view?
It all depends what you want from your chairman, right? I mean, like as chairman, you talk about our infrastructure has improved. I mean, it's not just improved, it's light years ahead of where it was. I think they've moved the training centre twice since he took over, so they are invested in some part of the club. Obviously, there have been people people are annoyed about the type of player that we've been signing for the last few years, mostly because most of them haven't worked out. Yes, we went 12 months without signing, 18 months really, 2 windows without signing anyone. I don't know. Like, yes, Levy. Like, I will say this about Levy. My image of him before the documentary was much better than my image of him now I've actually seen what he's like. I didn't like him in the documentary at all. I thought he looked like the type of kid at school who basically was trying to be friends with the cool kids,
Yeah.
and was buying them treats to do so. Can I sit at your table, please? So that was surprising to me, because I guess I assume that someone with the success that he's had in his life, not just at Spurs but in his life, the money that he has, wouldn't be so worried about whether he was friends with a footballer or not. But I got the impression that it was really important to him that he wanted to be part of the gang. So I don't hate Levy. I think the signings we can't argue with, right? That the people that hate him because we haven't made the signings are now happy, which is good because it's unified everyone.
Are they though? I mean, this is the question. We need to get some on the pod, HG, to discuss it. I know Leon Isaacs is certainly more positive, because he commented earlier when we were just chatting amongst ourselves that Levy's his hero or something now, and that he's going to put a statue of him in his garden because he's finally listened to him and bought some players. What it comes down to. What it comes down to is, like, we try and get the best players, right? And if they work out or not, okay. But at least you've tried to get the best players. And I think that for the ENIC outers, that's the major thing. We've been trying to go for lower level players, hoping they'll work out. Whereas maybe it's safe to say that if you get a higher level player, there's more chance it will work out. I mean, we can all find examples of top level players who have moved to clubs and it hasn't worked out. But what was the last top level player that Spurs signed? We all got so excited at Dybala, the possibility of him last summer, and so with Bale happening, like, yes, end of his career, but people are happy. As I said, it is a nice feeling to have everyone unified, and I don't really want it to be a case for Spurs fans to point fingers at each other and be like, "Are you happy now?" Because it doesn't help anything. The point is he's got miles left on the clock, though, HG, in my opinion. The guy's not played much football in the last 2 years. He's played more golf than football. He's still got that ridiculous haircut, which we're just going to have to forgive him for. But he's only 31, and most players peak about 29, 30. Now, in my eyes, he's about 29 in terms of footballing years, because the last 2 years he's hardly played. So, for my money, he should have 2-3 top level years in him.
There is a point to that, and it's well made. I mean, we look at other strikers at other clubs that are close to Spurs who have signed a massive deal with like 3 years at the age of 31. And if Aubameyang is considered a good deal when he's costing far more to Arsenal than Bale is to us, it is. I mean, like, rather than worry about the age, I think everyone should be just focused on the lift that it's given the entire club,
Yeah.
the entire fan base. Bale, we know, can score goals from anywhere, can almost play anywhere. Like I think he's that good
Yeah.
that even if you asked him to be a centre half, he'd be very good at it. Just because his pace, if anything, could get him out of trouble. Um, it's a fantastic moment or fantastic time for all Spurs fans. It's just a shame that it didn't happen 2 weeks ago
Mm.
and that we had to lose a game against Everton first for it to really for the wheels to start moving.
Mm. And it's definitely happening, isn't it? I love all this tier one bollocks, but all the tier ones, tier twos, tier three sources are confirming it. And I think
Everybody is expecting it to happen,
everybody's
and
expecting
I
it to
think
happen. Yeah.
so. If it doesn't happen now, we'll have a different conversation about
Leave it
Levy.
out. Yeah, get him
But
gone. Get him gone. Get him out of my
I,
club.
I, we've had as much confirmation as we're going to get without him holding the shirt up. So I'm pretty confident. To be fair, I was quite confident from the beginning when it all broke out a couple of nights ago.
Mm.
I think this is going to happen because it is weirdly in everyone's interest.
I thought
It
it
was
might
all
happen at
about
some point. I wasn't sure it would happen now, if that makes sense. I thought it might be another year down the line when he's a bit more past it. I'm excited that we've got him while he's still got some life left in him. That's how
it's
I
true.
feel about it.
It's
So a
true.
couple more questions coming through HG on YouTube. So Thunder B says, "What is your prediction against Lokomotiv Polovdiv? Is that how you say it? Yeah, you know my knowledge of football's fantastic."
Plovdiv.
And a follow-on question: do you think that we will concede goals against Lokomotiv Plovdiv? If so, how many? I mean, that's we're talking about Spurs here, Thunder B. I think
So
we have to keep
so
it
the
real.
answer is clearly yes. We
Yeah,
will concede.
clearly.
Look, if as long as we don't concede first, I do worry a little bit that if Plovdiv get a lucky goal or a stupid penalty or whatever, and they score first, that our players may react bad to that situation. I know that we're trying to instill a winning mentality, but I don't want to concede first to make sure that we've got it. So it's possible. I think again, if we play well, we'll win.
Mm.
It's just will we play well? That's the question.
Well, after that performance against Everton, you'd like to think there'd be a bit of a bounce back, wouldn't you? That's what I would say. So we shall see. We shall see.
And it's an incredibly important game just because if we do get knocked out, then we lose all those extra games that gives squad players a chance to play. People like Sessegnon, who are probably desperate for minutes, desperate to prove themselves. If we're out of the Europa League, he's not going to get them. So it's a massive game tonight. I think that I don't want Spurs fans to go there and think, oh, we're going to walk over them.
Yeah.
Because we may not. It's just, we need to make sure that we get to the group stage financially, professionally as a club for the players. It needs to happen, regardless of whether we get our away days or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. FP says, if Bale joins, will Kane still be the main man? Well, I think we both know the answer to that question, don't we, HG? Surely he won't be. But it'll be like playing with a couple of Galacticos instead of one.
The last thing we need is for Kane and Bale to end up like Cain and Abel, where Cain kills his brother, and we don't want the biblical story to happen. So, to me, Bale should be the man, but I would hope that he's smart enough to realise that this is Kane's club right now. He's not going to come in and take it over from day one. Maybe Bale doesn't even want that. I mean, he went to Real Madrid and was clearly number 2 or number 3 behind Ronaldo. Sergio Ramos was there, so maybe Bale doesn't need it. And I don't know what footballers' egos are like, but I would hope that neither one of them is particularly thinking about who's the alpha, and they're more worried about winning games because that's what they want to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And another question from Denfed. That's an interesting name, Denfed. So, in relations to this, how do you think a huge star in the dressing room will affect the atmosphere with everyone, where everyone seems to be at the same level? I don't think they are. If we're talking about the Amazon documentary, I think that's just maybe how it was made to look on camera. I think there'll be a clear pecking order in the dressing room. And you could see in team meetings, Harry Kane thought he was a little bit better than everyone else, didn't he? He's sort of going, this is pathetic, guys. This is, even though he probably wasn't working as hard either as any of them.
Kane is the leader of the club. Like after every half-time team talk, as soon as Jose started walking off stage left, Harry was the first one up to G the troops to get ready for the second half. I don't want to think that they care. I mean, it sounds crazy. Like, I understand that that people are people and they worry about wage packets and all the rest of it, but the job is to win games. Everyone wants Bale there. I'm sure everyone thinks they're going to be a better team if Bale is playing. They're going to have more chance of winning trophies, more chance of playing well and earning better deals either with the club or somewhere else. It has to be a lift for everyone. If someone looks at the signing of Bale and says, well, that's my career screwed, then maybe I don't want you at Tottenham anymore. So I would hope that they're all thinking about, what's good for everyone is good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Denford is actually the podfather, Benny. So thanks very much, Benny, for your question, and thanks for clarifying your name. I'd much rather know you as the podfather in future. Thunder B, who will start in goalkeeper position, Lloris or Joe Hart? Well, I think that's quite simple because I don't think Lloris has travelled with the team.
I've heard conflicting reports that Hugo has gone. So,
Oh, really?
like, if Hugo's there, he plays.
Well,
right? There's no reason to take him otherwise.
Let's hope so.
But yeah, I don't want us fiddling too much. It's an important game. Two or three players. That's it. I don't want us changing half the team.
Yeah.
And Hugo needs to play.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. I completely agree. I'm a bit scared about Joe Hart being in goal, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I think it's going to happen at some point, isn't it? Juan Franco, can I ask your thoughts on Reguilon? I think we've pretty much covered that. Any other questions for our Facebook earlier you want to touch on, HG?
I think there's the important one about whether this means we're going to change system. Going to a 3-4-3. We do have lots of centre backs on our books, and our full-backs are more known for attacking than being in a flat back four, whether it's Reguilon or Doherty. So yeah, maybe we could end up going to a 3-4-3 more often. Could give Sessegnon a bit more games if that was to happen. That was a good question. That was from it's from Seb from the pod. He asked that question. It's definitely possible. As I said earlier, I don't want us focusing too much on one particular formation. I think if we can play a 4-3-3 at times, we can play a 3-4-3 at times. If we have the ability to switch formations during the game, which is what we saw under Pochettino a lot, that sometimes Dyer would drop back to be in to make a third centre half, that would come to our advantage. So I think the players in our team that are flexible enough to play more than one position will become super valuable going forward.
Yeah, I agree. A similar sort of theme with that. What does the Bale signing mean for Bergwijn, and more importantly, Eric Lamela? So let's just cut the Bergwijn bit and ask the question, HG. What does it mean for Lamela? You're a much maligned player. Go on, Eric. Imagine a front three of Bale, Kane, and Lamela. That's what everyone wants to see, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to Europa League or Carabao Cup for that to happen, or a lot of injuries.
Listen, he pulled off a Rabona in the Europa League. Don't forget that.
He did. It's his level, so it's perfect for him. I think that Lamela, he's on a very good gig, right? He gets paid a lot of money. He doesn't play particularly often. He may not want to go. I think if he does go, he'll go back to Italy. But surely you see the writing on the wall at this point. Like, if you want to play games at 28 years old, he's not going to start regularly for Spurs. He may not even be on the subs bench that often now.
Might be in the treatment room half the time if history's anything to go by.
So yeah, like I've dreamt this before, but if Lamela was to leave this summer, it would be a sad day for the hospitals, the private hospitals in North London. But for most Spurs fans, like it would be money off the wages. I don't know. What do I say? Like I want
You're
him
just
gone. He's
waffling.
not good
You're just
enough.
waffling. You want him gone.
He's not good
You want
enough.
him
He never
gone.
has
I
been
want
good
him to
enough.
stay because he's got to get in that Hall of Fame. Because that's what I said 2.5 years ago when we started this podcast, and I stand by it now. The guy brings so much energy and passion to the team, and sometimes you need a bit of that. HG, come on, we can't be passionless. We've got to be. Where's the? You're not listening to any of Jose's effing team talks.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, I was sitting there thinking about my team for tonight, and like, yeah, if Lamella's travelled, he may well start. But I just like, I want better footballers. Like, I love his energy. I love lots about Lamella, but
Let's not talk
no.
anymore about him. You'll just get upset. David Cox asked a question on YouTube, which is a good one actually. Not really a Spurs question, but how did the hosts of the Cheese Room all meet?
Okay, yeah, it's an interesting one. There there is a Facebook group called Glory Glory Tottenham Hotspur, and I think most of us met through that. I mean, the only one I've met two of the Cheese Room. I met Franco and Simon J. Burrows out in Barcelona for the Champions League game a couple of seasons ago. Um, but yeah, the rest of it, I mean, I haven't met anyone else. We all met in the Facebook group. The Cheese Room founder Aaron Jolly, I guess, got a lot of people together. Said, hey, look, I
He
think
said,
you know
"Let's get
what
it
you're
off the
doing.
ground, mate. Let's
Yeah,
knock it out of the park. Gonna jump in the harbour. You guys do the pod."
pretty much. That much better impression than I could have done. So like, Aaron is probably the driving force at the beginning, and yeah, that's how we met. And so I think we're all pretty good friends now, despite certain differences outside of Spurs. We do love our team, and we're good friends.
Three or four of us, I'm not sure exactly, is it three or four season ticket holders? So obviously we meet up for matches and have a beer and that kind of thing. I was saying HG to Franco and Simon Burrows and Brendan that we should get, if we could somehow get everyone together in London for a game, a year or two in the future when all this COVID stuff is lifted, wouldn't it be great for us all to go on up the top of the skywalk together? I mean, I hate heights, but I just think it'd be a cool thing to do. And
Hey,
then
if
go
you
for
if you
beer
if you
after.
hate heights, I want to be there.
I mean, literally, have you seen the video where the players all go up and I think, is it Tanganga? He is literally
Yeah.
just hanging on the edge. Like, that'd be me. That'd absolutely be me. So that would amuse you all, no doubt, tremendously. I actually don't mind I don't mind heights looking out, it's looking down. I also saw quite a funny meme where they found all Sissoko's shots from last season. There was a load of footballs superimposed on around the cockerel, which I thought was quite amusing too. Another question from Juan Franco. I think Jose Mourinho bought Doherty and Højbjerg for the lack of personality in the dressing room and Bale for the lack of ego. Would you agree?
I think we definitely need more personality. Everyone seems to be
Meek.
quite easygoing and
Mm.
chill. No, I don't want to say meek. I mean, again, like you see with Hugo, like on the pitch, he's clearly a different animal to off it. But yeah, you hear them talk in training. Like obviously, Eriksen and Vertonghen and Alderweireld were all teammates at Ajax.
Yeah.
They've known each other. They knew each other a long time. Maybe the desire to push each other had gone a little bit, and Mourinho clearly saw that. I think we all see the benefit to having a stronger mentality. I do wonder whether Bale is ego because he never really took on Ronaldo as far as egos went in Real Madrid. So
Mm.
we'll see. But like, it's clearly good that we have someone who understands because you need to have a bit of animal in you if you want to be the best. Like
Absolutely. Absolutely.
talent will only get you so far. You have to push yourself,
Mm.
and I don't think we were. I think we were, probably quite happy to finish top four rather than push ourselves. We get to semi-finals, but we don't get to finals.
Mm.
We get to the top four, but we don't win stuff.
Yeah.
Like that final step is the most difficult, and maybe that is more attitude than anything else.
That's why we
So
brought Jose in. He's a winner. He's ultimately a winner. I do firmly, I've said it all along, I called it long ago that Jose was going to come to the club and make us winners. I stand by that. I also said it makes no sense for Daniel Levy to bring a £15 million manager to the football club if he wasn't going to back him, and it looks like he is backing him, doesn't he? He's signed the players that he wants. Everyone, a lot of fans were slagging off our window not long ago after signing Horbier and Doherty and Hart. I wonder what those people's thoughts are if these two deals get confirmed tomorrow, as we expect. But I'm sure we'll have more to say on that later. A couple more questions, and then I think we'll wrap things up shortly, HG, because I don't want to keep you too long. And my little girl is potentially waking up soon, so I better not be talking to you when I should be tending to her. Couple of questions. Do you think Aurier will stay now, especially if we play 5 at the back?
I would like to see him stay because it's not like the left back situation with Sirkin. We don't really have anyone else. Like if he leaves, we've got Doherty, and you're back to, do you play Juan Foyt there? Do you play someone else? So we could sign someone else, I suppose. But Aurier is good friends with Dombele. Sissoko is good friends with Dombele. If they're happy for one more year to help us get the best out of Dombele, which really is important, then I think he should stay. I mean, I don't hate Aurier. I think a lot of his issues were down to the formation, and if we play with wing backs, it might suit him even more. So I hope to see him stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he will. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all that if a good offer comes in for him, I think he'll go, because we have got Tanganga who can play right back. But I would expect to see him there, and I think it's probably right that he does stay, because we need cover. We've got a lot of games. How many games this season? 60 something. If we progress,
if we progress in every competition, it's 60 something, sure. But
that's a crazy amount of games, isn't it? Just crazy.
You have to plan that we will too. I mean, that's just it. Like you have to assume that we're going to get to the final of every cup competition, and so we right now, unless we have someone else lined up, we have to keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. And do we need a striker? We have loads of forward players if Bale comes in. I think you still need an out-and-out striker, because Bale is not a centre forward. So I think you need someone who can play and hold the ball up there. And I know we've been linked with we were talking earlier, we've been linked with a couple of players. HG, thoughts?
If
Milic,
we play with... so Milik, the guy at Napoli, is an option. I think Belotti at Torino was an option, but I read today that maybe that's not going to happen. If we play on the counter-attack, like if we do play that low block 4-4-2, then I don't think it matters as much, right? If we do want to kind of... If teams sit back against us, then maybe we do need a focal point. I would like to see us sign another number 9, but I think it does depend on the formation. Like, if we have Bale and Son and Dele and Kane who can all play as that person, even if only one is an out-and-out striker, we can't worry too much. But yeah, like I do want to see a striker. We talked, I think, before about the last couple of seasons when Llorente was here. Llorente was nothing like Kane, but at least he offered you something, right? When Mourinho was manager of Man United and he would lump on Fellaini would often come up with a headed goal or something, would cause effort. We need a little bit different. But yeah, it doesn't have to be, in my case, a world-class striker. If we can get someone in who's willing to become part of that rotation, then perfect.
I do hope we get another one across the line. It's going to be interesting to see who exits the club on the back of this. I know you've probably got your wish list at the top of it, Eric Lamela. But it'll be interesting to see who we do sell, because obviously at the end of the day we have got to balance the books, and there's been some expensive transfers. And whilst we've got money, I think that, it would be very un-Levy-like if he wasn't going to trim us down a little bit. So maybe that's a subject for a different day. HG, do you want to do one or two more questions from Facebook, and then we'll call it a day, I think.
So I mean, just looking down the list of questions that we have here, there's one from Sorrel Church. If we have any thoughts on Poch's comments about the Amazon documentary. I know that was doing the rounds yesterday, that Pochettino had shared what he thought about the documentary. What do you think about that, caller?
I mean, I just wish people would shut up about Poch. I'll be honest, no offence. Please don't take offence. Please listen to the pod. It's a great pod. You'll enjoy the show. Please watch us and support us. But your question, I don't like it. Because I just think we spend so much time obsessing about Pochettino. When you look at social media, there's a question there. If only Pochettino had been back like Josie has. He was. We spent 140 million in the last window, and we were relegation form when he left. And we weren't much better than that previously. You know, we all know that the cup run in the Champions League passed over the cracks. So I just think let's stop obsessing on what Poch could have, would have, should have had, and let's just move forward. I don't want to talk about Poch again. He's gone. He's history. Gone.
Maybe that's a good place to end it. Like, we've ended Pochettino on the Cheese Room pod. From now, no more discussions of what is history, as nice as it was. We're going to move on. We're going to think about Mourinho. We're going to back the players that are currently at the squad, and we're going to move forward, because that's all you can do. Like, reminiscing is dangerous in any form of life, especially if you spend too much time doing it. So Mourinho is the man. We've got a lovely game in a few hours in Bulgaria. We'll get some confidence by winning that, and then we can do this again in a few days' time.
And be really happy, people. Look, we've got the best stadium in the world. We've got the best training ground in the world. We've got one of the best managers in the world. We've now got one of the best players in the world, on top of the best forward in the world. Not to mention the best little hotel and training ground in the world. You know, the hotel has got very nice pillows, according to Mourinho. So, you know, that's important too. There's no reason why we can't do great things. None whatsoever. So it'd be great to see some positivity around the club, and obviously that's going to come from results. But trust me, I'm sure the caller is calling it. The results are coming. We're podding tonight, so that will be out for you soon. Please like, subscribe, and share our pod and our YouTube channel, and follow us all on Facebook and Twitter, because we love having a two-way relationship with the fans of Tottenham Hotspur, which is what we all are at the end of the day. So it's goodbye from me until next time. HG, lovely having
It's
you on.
goodbye from me, like the two Ronnies.
Well, let's not go down that road, shall we, eh? Let's not go down that road, the two Ronnies.
I'm an extremely tall Ronnie Corbett, and you're an extremely thin Ronnie Barker, and together
I've never
we
been
make a
called
good
extremely thin, never. And next time, maybe I think we will come live from the Caller Cave, located next door. Yeah, but I didn't want to move the recording studio next door today, basically. So, cheers, thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks for watching,
Come on,
G-Said.
come on,
See
you
you soon.
Spurs. Believe.
Come on, you Spurs.